Dari rangkaian presidensi G20 Indonesia di Nusa Dua Bali, Anda menyaksikan Indonesia Forward bersama saya, Ruli Kurniawan. Recover Together, Recover Stronger menjadi tema yang diangkat di presidensi G20 Indonesia tahun 2022. Dan gagasan penting ini menjadi perhatian khusus bagi industri pertambangan, termasuk Freeport McMoran yang turut menyokong upaya G20 untuk pulih bersama dan bangkit lebih kuat. Dan untuk membahas sejauh mana upaya dan juga sokongan dari Freeport McMoran terkait G20 dan juga Indonesia, kita akan membahasnya bersama the Chairman of the Board and CEO Freeport McMoran, Richard Atkerson. How are you, sir?
I'm very good, thank you.
Thanks for having us here.
It's a pleasure to be with you.
Yeah, so I'm going to start by saying congratulations for the 55th birthday operation in Indonesia. So how do you see the progress so far?
It's been almost 35 years since my first trip to Indonesia, and I've really come to love the country. The progress that Indonesia as a country made has been remarkable.
Right.
Of course, our operations are in Papua, and to see the progress in Papua over those years has been truly remarkable. Like the country of Indonesia, we've had at Freeport, we've had great successes, and we face very significant challenges on several fronts. But as we are situated here today, it's never been better. Our mining operations have progressed so much. We're now operating the largest underground mine ever in the history of the mining industry globally. And since 2018, when we reached an agreement with President Joko Widodo, the relationships between our company, the government of Indonesia, Mind ID, our shareholder partner there, have been excellent. We've made great progress. We've managed through COVID very well, and we work well with the community. So I could not be more pleased about where the company is situated now.
Get to hear that. I mean, like, there's so many interesting elements that what you're saying before. But we're going to talk about the G20 presidency Indonesia nowadays, because we carry the spirit of recover together and recover stronger. And related to these topics and subjects, how can Freeport McMoran survive and recover from the COVID-19 pandemic? Because that's one of the main reasons that we are talking here in G20 Indonesia.
That's correct. Going into March and April of 2020 was a very difficult time. Tremendous uncertainties about the global economy. In the second quarter of 2020, the U.S. economy shrank by a third. Globally, there was big question marks. We didn't know whether we could manage COVID so we could operate. And it was an important time at PTFI because we were transitioning from the open pit mine to underground. We've managed, like Indonesia, we've managed at Freeport very well through COVID. The world has lots of uncertainties today, which is a big subject of the G20. Economic, geopolitical, energy, food issues, all of those are really important. So we're in a period of uncertainty in the near term. I'm very confident about our company and PTFI's future for the long run because of how valuable copper will be in the global economy.
But you have said that you are confident about your company. So how does Freeport ensure safe and sustainable productions, like after the pandemic?
The first thing is that we're financially strong. PTFI has very limited debt. The debt we have is associated with the new smelter construction in Eastern Java. So we're financially strong. Operationally, we're focused on achieving things day by day. We don't know what the world's going to hold for us in the short run. But as I said, we're very confident about the long-run future of copper. And this is a major copper company. I mean, it's the world's second largest copper producer. And because of that, we have a lot of confidence for the future, even though we have uncertainties in the short run.
Right. So that's very interesting. But we're going to talk about Chopper later. But right now, we're going to talk about one of the main issues being discussed in G20, which is energy transitions. With energy transition, so what has Freeport McMoran done to support these sustainable energy transitions?
Well, we fully accept that we have a responsibility to work with governments, communities, and industry to reduce carbon emissions.
Yeah.
That is unquestionable. You see it everywhere around the world. So we are investing in the main issues we face are the source of energy at PTFI, which now is a coal-powered power plant.
Yes.
We're converting it to a dual fuel power plant and looking for long-term alternatives. Most likely a transition from coal towards natural gas and biodiesel, and ultimately looking for more sustainable sources of power. So that's the first thing. Then with our vehicles, we're working with other companies and suppliers around the world on how to convert away from diesel-driven vehicles. That's going to require new technology, but we're committed to trying to find it.
Right.
Now, we are converting from being an open pit operation where we had upwards of 150 huge haul trucks to being underground, which is a different type of mining.
Right.
In our underground mine, we're using an electric-driven ore train, which is unique in the mining industry globally. So we're attacking this on all fronts. Copper as a commodity is essential in carbon reduction because copper is used principally to electricity, production, distribution, and use. And so ultimately, the world's move towards carbon reduction will be very positive for PT Freeport Indonesia.
Yeah. And Indonesia, we have like a target for the carbon reductions in 2030 and 2060 for the zero emissions. So how about Freeport McMoran or Freeport Indonesia? Do you have like certain target you like to achieve this goal?
We have set a series of targets that we've publicly disclosed. The world, as we saw in COP27, is challenged to meet the aspirational targets that countries and companies and communities have established. There's still many questions about how to get there. So as a company, we have a philosophy of being very conservative about our commitments and so forth in terms of we want to make sure that when we set commitments, we have a path forward to support those. But I want to state again, PT Freeport Indonesia, Freeport McMoran globally are fully committed to contributing and progressing carbon emissions for the globe.
For the global and for the world, for all people.
That's correct.
Right. So Richard, so what the concrete actions did Freeport McMoran take on the transitions to sustainable energy? You said we have the targets and we want to achieve the targets. So what is the real actions that need to be done?
Well, the first action is we are spending capital today to convert our coal plant that generates electricity for our operations, as initial step to be a dual powered plant, and we're spending capital to do that. We're also doing longer term research on how to progress that. And I said the other big issue is vehicles, haul trucks and other vehicles, and we're working to find the solutions for that.
There's challenges there, but I believe Freeport Indonesia already have the solutions to overcome those challenges and issues, right?
I'm confident that we will, and we're working with major suppliers and other companies in our industry to find those answers, and it's a major primary objective of our company and our operations.
Right. I know we're going to talking about the technology transitions because technology transformations that you said earlier, and also investment. So what are the biggest challenges of technology transformations in the mining company?
Well, I think the issues I said we're targeting is the issues for the industry.
Yeah.
Power generation vehicles. Those are the two main, the two main challenges. And we're making progress. There's test facilities, and we've committed to bringing in new vehicles. Around the world, we are making major progress in converting from hydrocarbons to generate electricity to renewable sources, wind and solar and so forth. The setting of our operation in Papua is challenging on many respects.
Yes,
I mean, it is one of the most remote, it's high altitude, heavy rain, and so we have to deal with that as we approach these problems. But we'll get there. I mean, we're very confident, we're committed, and we'll find ways forward to do it, and we'll be leaders in doing that.
Yeah, just confident on it.
That's correct.
Yes. We're gonna wait a little bit, because kita akan kembali setelah yang satu ini. Tetap di Indonesia Forward. So, how can technology transformations taking place in Freeport to stimulate the economy, and how it can affect the economic growth?
One of the main issues, other than the two I've mentioned, is the use of technology, data analytics, and the ability to measure things. And when President Joko Widodo visited our operations recently in Papua, we talked about the use of technology to manage our operations. Using data and digital technology is going to be a very big help.
Right.
The more you can measure, the more you can respond to it. Makes us more efficient. For example, we now do a lot of our underground mining remotely, where once we had to have people in the underground conducting operations. Now much of our work is done from surface locations using technology to drive robotic type equipment. And that makes it safer. We can be more efficient. It also allows us to bring women into the workforce in a different way. And so many of mine workers today are women, many of them are Papuan women, doing work that once Philippine underground miners used to have to do. So it's the combination of new technology for energy sources, plus the use of digital communications technology to make us more efficient, make us safer, and to contribute to carbon emissions.
Well, that's very good to hear. So my next question is about the applications of technology in sustainable mining. Do you think that the sustainable mining doesn't, in application of technology, doesn't create new problems in the future?
Change always comes with challenges and problems to address. That's inevitable. But the opportunities I see are much greater than the problems. You may have heard I recently visited 7 universities with Minister Bahil in Indonesia. You know, we did a university roadshow, which was a lot of fun. And I talked to universities in the United States about how mining is changing. People's view of mining has been that it's a dirty, old industry that's unsafe. But the new world of mining is new opportunities. It gives young people the chance to come in and use skills that most people would say are more available in other industries. So we see it as a positive opportunity for all of us. And for Indonesia, with its young, large population, to come in and for Indonesians to learn these skills. We have Indonesian technically trained Indonesians working in our operations all over the world. And it's one area that, because of the Indonesia is blessed with natural resources in ways that other countries aren't. United States in its growth was in that situation, that this gives a chance for young Indonesians to learn skills and then have the chance to apply them in ways of where they can achieve career ambitions, make good wages, and get exposure to global industry.
Right. So technology transformations for the better cause.
It's so better in kind of every respect.
Yes.
You know, in terms of safety, efficiency, achieving climate change goals, and achieving career opportunities for young people, and having a more diverse workforce. If you look globally, it's hard to imagine another company that's more diverse than Freeport McMoran. I mean,
like Indonesia is a very diverse country, and also like the Freeport Indonesia, we have the diverse workplace, right?
Indonesia's unity through diversity, right? And in the United States, half of our workers are Hispanic in the United States, and then we operate in Latin America. We've been in Africa, and so you know, we have a very inclusive culture. We accept people's different views and backgrounds, their religions, and we're committed to diversity, and it's a way we can be stronger as a company, as well as contributing to Indonesia becoming stronger as a country.
Well, talking about Indonesia becoming a stronger country, and you said earlier about raw material here in Indonesia. So President Joko Widodo issued domestic downstream industry policy. So how does the world think about this policy?
As I listened closely to Minister Bahlil, and thought about this a lot, I also observed when I went to the universities how popular that strategy is for young people. And, you know, I've come to understand broadly through the minerals industry the objectives of downstreaming. In many minerals, it wasn't so much in copper, but in others, very little of the value was captured in Indonesia, although Indonesia had the ore resources. So the overall position, I'm convinced, is a very positive one for the country.
Right, it's very positive.
And copper is a bit different. Through our operations in Papua, we were already capturing 95% of the value of copper at PTFI in Papua. The country, as part of our 2018 agreement, the president wanted us to build a new copper smelter, which we committed to do, and we are doing. This will be our second smelter in Indonesia. One was, and I was involved in it back in the mid-90s at Gresik with Japanese partners. We built a smelter. Now we're building a major new facility in Eastern Java. It will be the world's largest single-line copper smelter, and we're making great progress. It's challenging because of COVID and supply chain issues, but by 2024 we'll have this. I visited recently. We'll have this operation in line, and so we're committed to supporting the government's policies for downstreaming.
Yeah, hopefully it can like leveling the Indonesia's economy effect, you know, like with those smelters from the Freeport Indonesia.
Yeah, the next step will be how does Indonesia develop industries to more use the copper that comes out of the smelting operation. And that's a different business. That's developing copper rods, wires, and so that's going to require efforts to, and I know Mr. Bahlil is focused on this, how do you develop further downstream industries to use the copper that will be produced by the smelters?
Well, that's a very interesting element, but wait for a moment, because we're gonna right back. Tetap di Indonesia Forward. So we're talking about the future. You know, like the world is facing a global crisis right now. High recessions, inflations. How do you predict the mining industry in the upcoming years?
there's clearly two phases. One is, how do you address this near-term challenges that you mentioned and the financial market's negative view about what's coming? Because the consensus view of the financial markets is that there will be recession and so forth. Now, in most minerals globally, and particularly for copper, today's markets are really tight. They're very positive. And so there's this dichotomy between micro good markets and a macro view of uncertainties and negative view. And so we all have to structure our business, and the administration in Indonesia and other countries has to think about their own country situation, is how do you prepare yourself for the near-term potential issues, and I'll emphasize the word potential, versus structuring the business, structuring the country to take advantage of the longer-term view, the longer-term outcome. And so that's what we're doing. We're being conservative in trying to manage costs, trying to control things, you know, being conservative about global investments at Freeport McMoran. But all of that's done in a way that will protect our ability to succeed in what we are confident will be a long-term positive market.
Right, long-term positive market, that's really good to hear. And you also said about the social investment. This is very interesting subject. So how does Freeport ensure an exclusive and sustainable future through empowering women and MCMEs?
An important lesson that I've learned in my career over the past 35 years in working in Indonesia, in Papua, was the need for a company like ours to be sensitive to local changes.
Yeah, that's very important.
And when you look over those years at the changes politically, economically, socially, that Indonesia as a country has gone through, and then when you focus then on the particular problems in Papua, of where when I first came here, there were very few Papuan workers at Freeport. You know, the social development was very low. The health issues were extremely challenging. Limited education opportunities for Papuans. And so we had to learn the importance of, we were a contractor to the central government, but we were living in Papua, and we had to learn to be responsive to the central government, but also be sensitive to the needs of the local government, and in terms of community development, healthcare, education, and job opportunities. And I'm proud to say that today, PT Freeport Indonesia, which is an Indonesian company, it's got 2 shareholders, state-owned company, Mind ID, and an international leading copper mining company, Freeport McMoran. But it's an Indonesian company, and we have, of our employees, 98% are Indonesian and over 40% are Papuans. And that's such a change from when I first came here. We literally had to go to the Philippines to find underground workers because there were none in Indonesia. And today, Indonesian and Papuans are lead managers of our underground operations. So it's really good to see. And we talk about the Freeport family, and that's the way we think of our employees, our contractors, our community as being a family.
So there's commitment there.
And that's a great word. It's a long-term commitment. It's not something you can just give lip service to and take short-term actions, but it has to be a philosophy. It has to be part of your core business. Those issues, environmental management, are as important in having success for a company like ours as are the engineering, geological, geophysical, geochemical challenges that we face, which are, this is the most complicated mine in the world. I feel confident in saying that. And for us to be partners with the government of Indonesia and be successful with the most complicated mine in the world, I'm very proud of it. And I think despite the past history of challenges, Indonesia is increasingly becoming proud of what we're doing together in Papua.
So do you think Freeport have their own principles and long-term commitment to fulfill all those hopes? I would say that.
We have to.
Yeah.
To be successful, we have to. And we're also being leaders in the global mining industry. I just completed my second term as chairman of the International Council on Mining and Metals, which is the 28 largest, I think it's 27 now, largest mining companies. And in my leading that organization, I use my experiences in Papua as really the guidepost to talk to the rest of the world about how to address ESG issues globally.
Right. Now we're talking about G20. So what do you expect from the G20 Indonesia's meeting, especially with regard to the mining industry, because you are the chairman?
Well, one thing I want to say, and I've worked closely with President Joko Widodo since he became president. Yeah. And to watch how he has ascended on the global stage to a position of leadership, and G20 is a great, is a primary example of his doing that. I think it's very impressive that, Indonesia now is viewed in a much different way than it has been historically. Yeah. There are many changes, and I said it's been a period of many people and times contributing to it, but I think it's really impressive as he's spoken up for issues like world peace, food supply, energy matters. And so here we are, the second day of the B20, and I thought it was off to a great start with the first day. And so I'm really proud of Indonesia and the organizing committee, and which our Tony Winas has played an important role in that. And so I'm very pleased about it and impressed.
Right. So based on your experience, so what do you think the futures of the sustainable mining industry will look like?
Technology is going to drive it.
Yeah.
Climate change initiatives, investments will be key to it. And then I have long-term confidence in global growth. I've watched it happen in Indonesia and other countries in Latin America and Africa where we operate. So I know there's real challenges geopolitically around the world today between major countries, but I really think that people in Indonesia see the growth that's happened over the past 35 years. The way Jakarta has transformed, the modern office buildings, the cars, the standard of living, the shopping centers. I believe that's a precursor for less developed countries around the world. And that global development, globalism is kind of a not politically popular world for everyone, but I believe that's the future of the world. Is we can all be better if the standard of living is risen for less developed countries and less fortunate people. And we can all be better for that. So that's my hope, my expectation, quite frankly.
Right. So there are big commitment, long-term commitment from the Freeport Indonesia and also Freeport McMoran. So hopefully both of us, not just Freeport, also Indonesia and the world can achieve what we are going to expect with these G20 meetings here in Indonesia.
That's correct. Yeah. And there's no way for a company like Freeport McMoran, for it to succeed in a country like Indonesia and the provinces of Papua, if everybody doesn't succeed. You can't have winners and losers. You have to find ways for everybody to win together, and that requires long-term commitment, patience, open mind, and new ways of doing things.
Yes, right. Thank you very much, Richard, for your insight in our program for today. So hopefully best of luck and keep healthy.
Thank you so
very
much.
Thank you
Enjoyed
very
it.
much.
Good seeing you.
Dan itu dia wawancara kita dengan Richard Atkerson, CEO dari Freeport McMoran. Dan terima kasih sudah menyaksikan Indonesia Forward. Saya Ruli Kurniawan. Terima kasih. Sampai jumpa.